All right, listener, you ready to dive in? You've given us a mountain of articles all about the Dodgers and Yankees. But you want to go deeper than just dates and scores, right?
Sounds like we're digging into the moments that made this rivalry legendary.
Exactly. And you've given us a lot to work with, covering everything from the early days all the way to their most recent clash in the 2024 World Series, which, by the way, is a pretty good indicator of just how big this rivalry is, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. 12 World Series matchups. That's more than any other major sports rivalry out there.
More than Celtics-Lakers, which everyone always seems to think is the be-all and end-all of sports rivalries.
It's true, the Celtics and Lakers have only faced off in the finals 13 times. The sheer number of World Series these two teams have played is incredible. It really speaks to the enduring power of this rivalry.
It really does. So where should we even start with something like this? I mean, we could spend hours just listing off famous players and iconic moments.
Well, we could. Or we could jump right into one of the most iconic phrases in baseball, born from this very rivalry.
You talking about no joy in Flatbush?
Bingo. That dropped third strike in 41. It's more than just a game, it's a moment that's become synonymous with the Dodgers-Yankees rivalry.
And honestly, it sounds kind of heartbreaking when you put it like that. A drop third strike costing an entire World Series.
Oh,
Oof, can you imagine being that catcher?
talk about pressure, but that's what makes this rivalry so captivating, right? The weight of these moments, the way they linger in the collective memory of both teams' fans. But yeah, to answer your question, let's break down exactly what happened. Game 4 of the World Series, Dodgers are up by 1, 2 outs in the top of the ninth. Tommy Henrich at bat for the Yankees.
So pretty tense situation already, even without knowing how it ends.
Oh, absolutely. Every pitch, every swing carries so much weight at that point in the game. Anyway, Henrich swings at strike 3, but the Dodgers catcher, Mickey Owen, misses it, doesn't catch it cleanly. And with 2 outs, a drop third strike means the batter can still run to first base.
So I'm guessing Henrik didn't just stand there and watch.
He did not. Henrich takes off for first, and the rest, as they say, is history. The Yankees rally, score 4 runs, win the game, and eventually the series. And for Dodgers fans, it wasn't just a loss, it was this gut-wrenching, almost unbelievable collapse.
Yeah, you can see why that phrase, no joy in Flatbush, stuck around. It perfectly captures the feeling of that loss.
And you know what makes it even more interesting is that this all happened against the backdrop of a segregated America. It adds another layer to the story.
It's a good reminder that even though we often think of sports as this escape from the real world, they're never really separate from it. These rivalries, these moments, they're all playing out against a much larger social and cultural backdrop.
Exactly. And speaking of cultural backdrops, this takes us to another pivotal year, both for this rivalry and for baseball as a whole.
Let me guess, we're talking about 1947 and Jackie Robinson.
You got it. Jackie Robinson's debut with the Dodgers, right in the thick of this heated rivalry with the Yankees. Just think about the weight of that moment.
It's hard to even imagine, honestly.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, did Robinson's presence in that World Series, beyond just how significant it was for baseball and for society, actually impact the games themselves?
Well, he didn't have, like, a game-winning hit or anything like that, but his presence was huge, you can't deny that. And you have to remember, this was more than just a baseball game, right? It was a cultural earthquake.
It really was. And the pressure on him must have been immense.
Absolutely. But he handled it all with such grace. He stayed focused, kept his composure. He was, and still is, a symbol of resilience.
Absolutely. But even with all that going on, those World Series were still full of incredible plays, right?
Yeah.
Our sources mentioned some amazing catches, especially during that era.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And when it comes to iconic catches, you can't forget El Gianfrido's grab in Game 6 of the 47 series. Talk about a story for the ages.
Okay, set the scene for us. What made this catch so unforgettable?
Picture this. Joe DiMaggio, Mr. Yankee himself, at the plate. He smashes a line drive, and it looks like it's going to be an easy extra bases. John Frido, playing left field for the Dodger, comes charging in.
Okay, so the tension is already building here. You've got DiMaggio, one of the biggest names in baseball.
Right, and then, out of nowhere, Gina Frido leaps. I mean, really, APS. He reaches over the bullpen railing and somehow, against all odds, snags the ball.
He caught it?
He did. And not only did he catch it, it was one of those plays where you can practically hear the crowd gasp as it happened. Saved the game for the Dodgers, too.
It's amazing how certain plays just become a part of baseball history. You can practically picture it happening just from the way people describe it, even decades later.
It's true. And, speaking of legendary moments that defy belief, We have to talk about Don Larson's perfect game in 56. 27 batters up, 27 batters down.
The pinnacle of pitching right there.
Yeah.
But to be fair, I'm guessing a perfect game isn't just about the pitcher, right?
Oh, absolutely not. And what's often forgotten is that Larson got a lot of help from his defense that day. I mean, we're not just talking one lucky play here. There were three incredible defensive plays that helped preserve that perfect game.
Wow, 3 incredible defensive plays in a single perfect game. Talk about being in the right place at the right time. I bet Don Larson took those fielders out for a celebratory steak dinner after that.
I'm sure they earned it. You know, we've been talking about all these amazing moments, but we haven't even touched on the Dodgers' first World Series win against the Yankees back in 55.
Right, and that was a long time coming, wasn't it? I mean, we're talking 7 previous World Series losses, many of them to the Yankees.
It was a huge deal for Dodgers fans, especially those who had been there through all the heartbreak. The stories from that time are incredible.
What was it like in Brooklyn? I bet the celebrations were insane.
The city went wild. I mean, they weren't just playing against the Yankees, they were also battling the Giants for New York City bragging rights.
Ah, yeah, the battle for the heart of New York. 3 major teams, all in the same city, all fighting for dominance. That must have added a whole other level of intensity to the Dodgers-Yankees rivalry.
Oh, absolutely. The Dodgers weren't just trying to prove themselves against the Yankees. They were trying to establish themselves as the team in New York. Every game, every win mattered.
And then, just a few years after that triumphant win, the Dodgers pack up and move to Los Angeles. Talk about a bittersweet moment for Brooklyn. How did that move affect the rivalry, would you say?
It completely changed things. It wasn't just two teams anymore. It was two cities, two identities going head to head. The Dodgers became more than just a baseball team. They were a symbol of Los Angeles.
So did that cross-country move kill the rivalry?
Not at all. If anything, it might have made it even bigger. They were still playing each other in the World Series, but now it was this coast-to-coast battle. Every game felt like a cultural clash, you know?
That's interesting. It's like the rivalry took on a life of its own beyond the actual games being played. And of course, with a new era comes new legends. And our sources spend a good chunk of time on one name in particular.
You talking about Mr. October himself, Reggie Jackson?
You know it. 5 home runs in the '77 World Series. Talk about legendary. But you know what really gets me about Reggie Jackson?
Like that.
That play in '78, Game 4. Yankees are trailing, the pressure is on, and then boom, that controversial play happens.
Oh, you mean the one where he may or may not have intentionally gotten hit by that ball?
Exactly. Did he or didn't he? I mean, the sources are vague on the details, which honestly just makes it all the more intriguing.
It's one of those moments that's become part of baseball lore. This ball comes flying towards him, ricochets off his hip, and everyone's wondering, did he stick his hip out on purpose? Did he game the system? We might never know for sure.
And that's what makes it so much fun to talk about, right? These little mysteries that keep the rivalry alive, even all these years later. But speaking of moments that get people talking, listener, we can't forget about the latest chapter in this saga, the 2024 World Series. And luckily for us, you've provided us with some fantastic articles that cover it all.
So you want to talk about the 2024 World Series? This one was one for the books. Dodgers took it home in 6 games, but man, it was a battle. Those Yankees did not make it easy.
It really did feel like a clash of the Titans, you know, 2 powerhouse teams, each with their own legacy on the line. And it wasn't just a repeat of the past either. You had these classic moments like those nail-biting pitching duels, but then you also had this incredible offensive showcase from the Dodgers. Remember their insane run total back in the NLCS? That was unbelievable.
Oh, totally. They were like a modern-day murderer's row out there. And then you had Tommy Edman, a midseason pickup, becoming World Series MVP. Talk about a Cinderella story. It shows you how unpredictable baseball can be. You think you know what to expect from a rivalry like this, and then bam, someone like Edman comes out of nowhere.
Ah, you said it. Edman's performance was one for the ages, for sure. But it makes you think, doesn't it? We've been talking about how this rivalry has changed over the years, how it's become this cross-country battle. But has that distance, that lack of day-to-day competition, changed the feel of the rivalry?
It's a good question, and honestly, even our sources are a little torn on that one. Some people say, look, it's the Dodgers and the Yankees, right? The history is there, the passion is there, no matter where they're playing.
And it's true that history is a powerful thing.
Absolutely. But then there are others who argue that something's been lost along the way, you know? That it's just not the same when they're not battling it out for the soul of New York on a regular basis.
I get that. It's like when these teams shared a city, every game was more than just a game, you know. It was a cultural clash, a fight for bragging rights. You move them across the country from each other, and maybe some of that edge goes away.
Maybe. But here's the thing. Even with the distance, the Dodgers-Yankees rivalry is still one of the biggest in sports. People still get fired up about it. They still talk about it like it's the biggest deal in the world.
It's true, and that says something. Whether you think it's as intense as it used to be or not, you can't deny that the Dodgers and the Yankees still capture the imagination. There's a reason people can't stop watching, can't stop talking about it. It's got this almost mythical quality to it.
It really does. It makes you realize that these rivalries, they're more than just games, right? They become these stories that we tell and retell. They become part of our culture, our history. And the Dodgers and the Yankees, they've got one heck of a story.
They really do. Well, listener, we've covered a lot of ground today, haven't we? From those early days in Brooklyn all the way to that incredible 2024 World Series, we've explored what makes this rivalry tick. We've seen the heartbreak, the triumph, the legendary moments that keep us coming back for more.
We've seen how this rivalry has mirrored changes in society, in baseball, even in the cities these teams call home. But one thing's for sure, the Dodgers and the Yankees, they always deliver a story.
They absolutely do. And now we want to hear from you, listener. What are some of your favorite Dodgers-Yankees moments? Do you think the rivalry is still as fierce as ever? Let us know. We'll be right here, ready to dive into the next chapter of baseball history with you.